The ash rift never slept. Rusted hulls drifted among broken asteroids, starship carcasses scattered like bones. Blackridge Station clung to one of the larger rocks, a ramshackle colony where smugglers, miners, and fugitives scraped together survival. In the corner of the dockyard, an old human bent over a freighter engine. His hands were scarred, fingers steady despite the tremor age should have brought. Cale Draven worked without hurry, sealing a coolant leak with a precision that made younger mechanics pause. To most here, he was just the old man, a relic who fixed ships, drank bitter tea, and asked nothing of anyone. Draven preferred it that way. He wiped his hands on a rag, watching the freighter lift off. The pilot nodded thanks, but Cale barely acknowledged him. The fewer ties, the better. Every night he sat alone in his quarters, sipping tea brewed from dried rift moss, listening to the groan of metal bulkheads. He wanted peace, not conversation. But the rift never respected peace. Shadows in the rift. 2 nights later, the first body appeared. A merchant found in an alley, throat opened with surgical precision. No credits missing, no sign of robbery. Just a message carved into the wall in alien script: prey bleeds easily. By morning, whispers spread. Veilith assassins had arrived. Cale ignored them at first. He kept working, tightening bolts, calibrating fuel injectors. But he noticed a shift, the way colonists moved quicker, eyes darting. He saw the way miners gripped tools as weapons. In the tavern, 3 veilith made a show of themselves. Tall, lean figures with razor-lined jaws and gleaming carapace armor, they laughed as they tossed coins at the bartender. Humans, one sneered, his voice sharp like broken glass. Fragile little meat things. I could crush 3 before my drink goes warm. The bar laughed nervously. Nobody challenged them. Nobody ever did. Cale sat in the corner, silent. He sipped his tea, gaze fixed on nothing. He'd learned long ago that attention drew death. But the past refused to stay buried. The first kill. The assassins grew bolder. A young trader argued with them at the docks, refusing to pay a toll. They gutted him in front of everyone. His body fell into the dust, eyes wide with disbelief. Cale stood among the crowd. His jaw tightened, but he didn't move. A younger man might have rushed in, weapon drawn. He had once been that man. Not anymore. Later, a girl named Nera, barely 20, grease-stained coveralls hanging loose on her frame, found him at his workbench. You saw them, she said, voice shaking. You saw what they did. Why didn't you stop it? Cale didn't look up. Because I don't fight anymore. They'll kill more, she pressed. Everyone's afraid. Someone has to stand up. He tightened a bolt, hands steady. Then find someone else. She stared at him, anger flashing. You're not just a mechanic. I can see it. The way you move, the way you watch everything. You were a soldier. Cale said nothing. Her words hit too close. He turned away, the conversation ended. But guilt clung to him like smoke. The cornered man. It happened 3 nights later. Cale was walking back from the docks, the station eerily quiet. Metal corridors hummed with the low thrum of life support. Then he heard them, claws clicking against steel. 3 veilith stepped from the shadows, blocking his path. Their armor shimmered faintly, eyes glowing amber in the dim light. An old human, one hissed, circling. Fragile. Alone. Easy prey. Cale stood still, hands at his sides. Move. They laughed, closing in. One shoved him hard against the wall. Listen, old man. We're hunting tonight. We take what we want. Unless you'd like to amuse us. Cale's eyes narrowed. He felt it, the pull he had resisted for years. He tried to smother it, but when another assassin mentioned Nera's name, the dam broke. The first lunged. Cale moved faster than any old man should. He sidestepped, grabbed the assassin's wrist, and slammed it against the wall until bones snapped. In the same motion, he drove a wrench into the creature's throat. The second barely had time to blink. Cale twisted, wrench spinning in his hand, and cracked the alien's skull with brutal precision. Both dropped before they realized what happened. The third froze, horror flickering across his face. Cale stepped forward, eyes cold as stone. "Run," he said. The assassin obeyed, scrambling into the dark. Cale stood alone, breath steady, surrounded by silence and blood. His hands didn't shake. His body remembered every motion, every kill. The old instincts hadn't died. They'd only slept. Whispers of a name. By dawn, the colony buzzed. Word spread fast. 2 assassins dead, slaughtered by a human. Some doubted it, calling it rumor. Others whispered about legends, old war stories passed in hushed tones. In the tavern, veilith survivors told their leader what they'd seen. "He moved like nothing I've faced," one gasped. "Not prey. Not weak. He killed them before they touched him." High Talon Arask listened, smiles spreading. His carapace gleamed crimson under the lights, eyes sharp with cruel amusement. "An old fighter?" Arask mused. "How delightful! Perhaps the rift hides a ghost worth hunting." The assassins bowed their heads. None dared mention the word forming in their minds. Planet killer? The blade in the box. That night Cale sat in his quarters. The tea had gone cold, untouched. He stared at the small metal box on his table. He hadn't opened it in years. His hand hovered, then unclasped the latch. Inside lay a combat blade, its edge still gleaming after decades. Not ceremonial, not decorative, functional, balanced, built for killing. Cale gripped the handle. The weight was familiar, heavy with memory. He whispered to the empty room, voice rough. "I told myself I was done. But they won't let me be." Outside, the rift stretched infinite and dark. Somewhere in that void, assassins laughed. They didn't know the ghost they had cornered. The colony buried its dead in silence. No priests, no rites, just a shallow trench cut into frozen rock. Cale Draven lowered the last body himself, shoulders stiff beneath the weight of years and memory. The younger colonists watched from a distance, whispers carrying through the cold air. "He killed them with his bare hands," one muttered. "Not possible. No human can fight veilith assassins like that. They say he's a war ghost." Cale shoveled dirt, pressing it firm. He didn't correct them. He didn't explain. Words could never erase the truth of who he was. The shadow of the past. That night, he dreamed of fire. Whole cities collapsing beneath orbital bombardment. His voice echoed in memory, calm and merciless. "Target confirmed. Execute strike." He woke with his throat dry and his fists clenched. The blade on his table glinted in the dim light. It had been years since he touched it. Now it lay ready, waiting, as if it had never left his hand. Cale stared at it, jaw tight. He had sworn never to fight again. But the rift had no regard for oaths. The taunt. By dawn, the assassins returned. Not in shadows this time, but openly. A dozen of them marched through the market, their leader's voice carried by comm speakers wired into the walls. "Humans," Arask declared, his tone mocking and theatrical. "Your colony harbors an old fighter. He killed my hunters. This amuses me. So I will play a game. For every hour he refuses to face me, one of you dies." The crowd froze. Mothers clutched children. Miners gripped rusted tools with white knuckles. Cale stood at the edge, hood pulled low. He felt every gaze shift to him, searching, hoping. He turned away, walking back to the docks. But Arask's words followed. "Do you hear me, ghost? I know you're there. Show me your strength, or I will carve your colony to ash." Reluctance broken. That evening, screams tore through the alleys. Arask's assassins made good on their promise. They dragged a boy into the open square, no older than 15, and cut him down before the colony's eyes. Cale arrived too late. He stood among the horrified crowd, the boy's blood still steaming in the cold. Nara's voice broke through the silence. "Enough!" she shouted, her eyes blazing at him. "You could have stopped this. You let it happen." Cale's chest tightened. He wanted to tell her she didn't understand, that blood never washed away once spilled. But the boy's lifeless stare silenced him. When the assassin struck again the next day, Cale didn't hesitate. The hunt turns. 2 veilith tracked miners into a storage bay, confident in their superiority. Cale was waiting. He had studied their movements, their arrogance. He rigged fuel lines to burst, drawing them into a trap. When the first stepped through, Cale ignited the fumes. Fire swallowed the bay in an instant. He moved through the flames like a wraith, striking with precision. One assassin fell, blade through the chest. The other tried to flee, but Cale crushed his throat with a steel bar before he reached the exit. The colonists who witnessed it spread the word faster than fire. The ghost was no ghost at all, he was real, and he was lethal. The legend stirs. By nightfall, half the colony whispered his old name. Most had only heard rumors, half believed war stories from generations past. But now the whispers carried weight. Planet Killer. Nera approached him again, her face pale but resolute. It's true, isn't it? You're him. Cale's eyes narrowed. Who told you that name? My father fought in the orbital rebellions. He spoke of a commander who turned entire fleets into dust. He said your name with fear. Cale looked away. Fear is all it deserves. Then use it, she pressed. If they're afraid of you, we have a chance. He wanted to refuse. But he saw the plea in her eyes, the same plea he had ignored before. He realized he had no choice. The War of Shadows. Over the next days, Cale struck with ruthless efficiency. He turned abandoned tunnels into killing zones, planted crude explosives where assassins prowled, and guided colonists into ambush teams. He taught them how to move, how to fight as units, how to survive. Every kill chipped away at Arask's arrogance. Reports reached him, squads vanishing, traps springing from nowhere, assassins found gutted in the dark. Fear spread among the hunters, whispers growing louder each night. He knows our movements before we make them. He's not human. He is Planet Killer. The challenge. Finally, Arask could not contain his fury. His voice thundered across the station's comms. Enough games. You hide in shadows like a rat, old man. I want to see you bleed. Face me, or I will tear every human here apart. Cale sat in silence, listening. His blade lay across his knees. The colony waited for him to answer, fear and hope clashing in their eyes. He pressed the comm switch. His voice carried through every corridor, steady and cold. You wanted amusement, Arask? Come find me. I'll show you the cost of mocking humans. The Awakening. When he ended the transmission, Cale felt the weight of his decision settle over him. Peace was gone. The galaxy would know his name again. He rose, strapped the blade to his side, and headed for the hangar where a wrecked veilith warship lay. He had been repairing it in secret, its systems half alive. Now he would finish it. Colonists followed him with wide eyes as he worked, hands moving with speed and purpose. Each wire reconnected, each cannon recalibrated, each thruster reset. Piece by piece, the warship came back to life. Nera watched, voice quiet. You're not just a mechanic. You're a weapon. Cale didn't deny it this time. He sealed the last panel, the engines rumbling awake, and looked at her with eyes hard as iron. They called me Planet Killer once. Tonight they'll remember why. The rift burned with the glow of engines. Dozens of veilith craft swarmed toward Blackridge Station, their hulls cutting through the darkness like knives. On the surface, colonists huddled behind barricades of welded scrap and overturned loaders. Fear hung in the air, sharp as ozone. Cale Draven stood at the front, the combat blade strapped across his chest, his weathered face lit by the harsh floodlights. Behind him, the repaired veilith warship hummed with stolen life. Its cannons were online, shields patched, engines ready. Positions, he ordered, his voice carrying with the weight of command. The colonists moved without hesitation. Weeks ago, they had been miners and traders. Now, under his guidance, they were fighters, raw, but disciplined enough to follow his lead. Nera adjusted the charge on a jury-rigged plasma rifle. She caught Cale's eye. We're ready. He gave a single nod. The storm breaks. The first wave struck like lightning. Veilith assassins leapt from dropships, claws tearing through metal plating. Their laughter echoed across the station, high and cruel. Cale moved before fear could take root. He signaled the gunners, and a line of hidden turrets roared to life. Plasma fire cut into the attackers, bodies scattering in arcs of burning light. "Hold the line!" Cale barked, blade flashing as one assassin closed in. He met the alien head-on, dodging its strike and driving steel into its chest. The creature fell with a scream, its blood hissing against the ground. The colonists rallied. Explosives detonated at choke points, collapsing walkways and funneling the assassins into kill zones. Each move had been calculated, each trap laid with precision. But the veilith kept coming. Fear turns. Arask's voice thundered over the comms, mocking and furious. "Is this your power, human? Hiding behind children with toys? Face me yourself!" Cale ignored the taunt. Instead, he climbed into the stolen warship. The cockpit sealed around him, consoles glowing to life. His hands, steady despite the years, flew across controls with the ease of memory. The ship lifted, engines flaring, and broke from the hangar into the rift. The assassins outside faltered as the warship's cannon spun toward them. Then the void lit up. Orbital fire rained down with surgical accuracy. Dropships vaporized in bursts of white flame. Whole squads of assassins vanished in the explosions. The colony cheered, but Cale's face remained stone. Inside his head, the old voice returned. "Target confirmed. Execute strike. The duel approaches." The slaughter broke their arrogance. Veilith whispers filled the comm channels, fear cracking their voices. "He knows every move. This isn't possible. He's Planet Killer." The name spread like fire. Arask snarled when he heard it. He would not allow his legend to be eclipsed by an old human. His crimson flagship descended, engines burning hot, claws extending like a predator preparing to strike. He transmitted across all channels, his voice sharp with rage. "Draven! I claim your life with my own hands." Cale steered the warship to meet him. "Come then." Clash of wills. The two ships collided in a brutal dogfight above the station. Plasma beams cut through the void, missiles streaking across the rift. Cale maneuvered with terrifying precision, each movement economical, each strike devastating. Arask's flagship shuddered under the assault, but the alien pressed on, desperate for dominance. Finally, both vessels spiraled downward, crashing into the colony's outskirts in clouds of fire and metal. Wreckage scattered across the rock. From the flames, two figures emerged. Arask, armored and gleaming, twin blades in his hands. Cale, scarred and calm, his combat blade drawn. The crowd held its breath. The duel. Arask circled, his movements fluid and deadly. "So this is the great Planet Killer. A broken relic clinging to old wars. I expected more." Cale's voice was quiet but firm. "You expected prey. You found a hunter." The alien struck first, blades flashing in arcs of silver. Cale parried, steel ringing against alien alloy. Each clash sent shockwaves across the ground, sparks flying in the dark. Arask pressed with speed and fury, his strikes relentless. Cale answered with precision, each movement efficient, conserving strength, turning fury into waste. "You're slow," Arask hissed. "I'm patient," Cale replied. The duel stretched on, sweat streaking Cale's face, alien ichor spattering the ground. Arask grew more desperate with every exchange, his arrogance cracking. The end of Arask. Finally, Cale saw the opening. Arask lunged wide, overextending. Cale stepped inside the strike, twisted his blade, and drove it straight through the alien's chest. Arask staggered, disbelief flooding his eyes. "Impossible, human!" Cale twisted the blade once more, voice cold. "You should never have laughed." Arask collapsed, his body crumpling into the dust. The battlefield fell silent. The message? Cale turned, his voice carrying across open comms, reaching every veilith ear still alive. This is what becomes of those who mock humanity. Remember this name. Planet Killer. The surviving assassins broke. Their discipline shattered, they fled into the rift, abandoning their dead and their pride. The colonists erupted in cheers, but their eyes carried something deeper, fear. They had witnessed not just survival, but the return of something they barely understood. Aftermath. The fires smoldered long into the night. The colony stood scarred but alive. Bodies were buried, wounds bound, but whispers filled every corner. Nera found Cale standing at the edge of the rift, his blades still sheathed across his back. "They're gone," she said softly. "You saved us." Cale shook his head. "I didn't save you. I reminded them what we are." She studied him. "And what are we?" His eyes, weary and unflinching, met hers. "We are what the galaxy fears most. And now they'll come again." He turned away, walking into the shadows of the station. The title he had buried was alive once more, etched in fear across the stars. Closing line. They thought him a relic. They called him prey. But in the rift, the galaxy remembered, humanity's deadliest weapon doesn't fade, it waits.